So once we have understood that how normally the reproduction takes place, how one child is born, okay, or sometimes in some fortunate cases there can be a healthy twins which are born, or unfortunate cases where Siamese twins can be born. All that we have seen as normal reproductive life in human beings. But when it comes to reproduction in human beings, there are many other aspects also which has to be understood and taken care of. Okay, reproduction is a natural process, but at the same time, the sex or the act of sex, which is said, that is something which can transmit many diseases from one person to the other. Okay, so it's like when two people engage in sexual activities in a very unhygienic manner, it's ultimately mixing of the body fluids which are taking place. There are secretions from the male reproductive system, there are secretions from the female reproductive system. So if the unhygienic mixing of secretions take place, it can lead to lot of STDs. Such diseases are called sexually transmitted diseases. Okay, and they are very, very dangerous. Sometimes they can be fatal. Okay, so sexually transmitted diseases are also known as venereal diseases. Okay, so let us take a look at some of them. The first one, as you know, the most common one, and many people in the world are suffering from this, that is the AIDS. What is the full form of AIDS? Anyone? It is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. That's the full form. Okay, it is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. That's the full form of AIDS. Okay, so when you talk about AIDS as a disease, first of all, instead of calling it as a disease, the correct word over here is syndrome. Syndrome का मतलब है combination of many diseases. That is AIDS. So what happens is the virus which is responsible for causing AIDS is called the HIV. You are aware, human immunodeficiency virus. Okay, this virus affects the headquarters of the immune system in our body. Okay, so it's like we have a particular immune system in our body. WBCs and all are fighting against all the antigens. तो ये अपने immune system के headquarters को ही damage करते हैं. So because of which the body becomes an open invitation for many other diseases. And instead of AIDS as such, people die because of other diseases. One of the symptoms of AIDS is cancer. Imagine. There is one type of a cancer called Kaposi sarcoma, a type of a skin cancer. Okay, this cancer is a symptom of AIDS. And other major problem with the AIDS is that it has got a very large incubation period. Incubation period का मतलब है the time from the entry of the microorganism or the pathogen to the manifestation of the symptom. Like suppose if you talk about a disease like common cold, जो हमें बहुत normally होते हैं, उसका incubation period is just 1 to 3 days. That common cold virus enters us and within 1 or 3 days we get the symptoms. So we are able to treat it. But AIDS का जो incubation period है HIV का, that is around 10 to 12 years. That is what the actual problem is. Okay, by the time the symptoms are there, the damage is already done. इसलिए AIDS को पूरी तरह से treat नहीं कर सकते. That's why there are many activities which are only to be prevented, by which AIDS can be just avoided. Okay, and one of them is avoiding erratic sexual activities. Okay, that is the details about AIDS. Like there are many other things which you have to learn, but one of them is like AIDS has to be avoided by unnatural sexual activities. And for that, the awareness is being spread in the world. And 1st December every year is observed as World AIDS Day, so that the disease can be made aware about. Okay. Similarly, like this much detail is enough for you. Then the second one that you know is about syphilis. That's another STD. Syphilis means again due to uh, unhygienic sexual activity, or you can say multiple sexual partners. Many of them can cause the disease. So they are syphilis is a bacterial disease which can cause symptoms even on the skin. You can see these symptoms out here. Chickenpox is the symptoms of it. That is syphilis. So if it is detected at an early stage, there are antibiotics by which one can treat themselves, but it's always better to avoid, and the disease should not progress further. Okay, and it's like if a person is having any kind of an STD, so a sexual activity with that person has to be first avoided. Otherwise, it can transmit from a infected person to a healthy person. Okay, the third one is something called LGV. LGV का full form है right here. It is lymphogranuloma venereum. That is LGV. Okay, that is another STD, a major damaging one. You can see how the skin affects LGV. Okay, this is also a very dangerous one. Okay, then you have another one called gonorrhea. It's another disease called gonorrhea. I'll remove the names I have written. It's called gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is another bacterial disease caused by the bacterium called Neisseria gonorrhoeae, and this affects the reproductive organs terribly. There can be oozing of pus and a whitish discharge from the genital organs. There can be rashes and all, blisters and all. So it can be very, very painful also. To some extent, they are treated by antibiotics. But again, of course, it is understood it has to be avoided. So these four names of disease you can remember. One is AIDS, syphilis, LGV, gonorrhea. Okay, understood this, everyone? So it's like, see, transmission of HIV, especially how it can go from one person to another. See, any kind of unprotected sexual activity with an infected partner can transmit HIV. Or there can be sharing of needles. This is a major problem with especially the drug addicts. They take needles, they share syringes and all very, very haphazardly, and they transmit diseases. You know very well, drug abusers and all, they take injections for taking the drugs. So usme ye transmit hote hain. That's why doctors also, if you visit for any kind of treatment, when they give say injection, the injection is never reused. Every individual will get one's own injection. उसके बाद उसको dispose कर देते हैं. Okay, that is very necessary. Even at home also, like when we do the shaving and all, अपना razor अपना ही होता है. That is never to be shared with anyone. All this can transmit the disease. Or if an infected mother is there, the disease can be transmitted to the fetus. Okay, or if a person is donating blood, the person who is infected may donate the blood to another healthy person. So doctors का duty है कि उसको check करना whether it is infected or not. All these can become very important factors where we can stop the transmission. So it is said prevention is always better than cure. Okay, understood about STDs, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now there is something called artificial reproductive techniques. It's like we have seen how normally the reproduction takes place and how the conception happens, right? But there are various reasons due to which many normal couples are not able to have children. There are various reasons for that. It might be something wrong with the males, something wrong with the females, or the gametes, or the hormones, or maybe stress factor, lifestyle factor, the age factor. Okay, it's like as we have seen now, in the case of females, the reproductive age begins from somewhere around 12 to 14 and ends at menopause, that is around 45 to 55. Right? So the ideal reproductive age for a female is between 25 and 30. That is where the gametes are said to be the healthiest. Very early in life, reproduction is not advised. And very much at a later age also, it is not advisable. Because the health of the gametes will suffer. And that is not advised. So next generation is not very healthy. That's why 25 to 30 proper time biologically where the gametes are the best. It is applicable even for the males. Males may be 25 to 35 at the most, you can say 20, 35, 40. Gametes production will happen, sperm production. But the healthiest ones are produced at a younger age. But of course, not at a very young age also. Okay, so at some stage in life, due to certain reasons, when reproduction does not happen normally, then there are techniques available where reproduction can be achieved. उसको बोलते हैं artificial reproductive techniques, ART. So it's like medical science has progressed and there are various techniques available. Just a second. Okay, so let us take a look at what are the different new techniques which are available. Okay, so the first thing is something called artificial insemination. It's like when people are not able to have normal sex life, when there is no proper sexual intercourse which is taking place due to various reasons. Erection of the penis could be a problem, okay, or lubrication might be less. So because of that, the semen is not able to be ejaculated. Many things can happen. So under such situation, artificial insemination is possible. The semen is collected from the man, and then it is injected into the vagina of the female. So there is no sexual intercourse taking place, but the semen is entering the vagina. That is called artificial insemination. In one case recently I had read about in the paper, there was one person, I suppose he was a army man. Okay, so military people, you know very well, when they are on a battle, they can lose their life. So one such lady, what he did, one of the wives of the military man, she wished that her husband's sperms must be collected and stored. Sperm storage is possible. So by chance, if the life of the person is lost, even after the death of the husband, the woman can get pregnant with the husband's sperm itself. So artificial insemination से उनके sperms को inject करती है. Such kind is possible. So this is an advantage, plus point you can see. If the other partner is lost due to some reason, insemination is possible, conception is possible. The child which will be born will be the biological child of that same person who might be dead. Okay. दूसरा है in vitro fertilization, IVF, also known as the test tube baby. So it is literally not a baby growing in a test tube. Okay. यहाँ पे क्या है कि the male gametes and the female gametes, they both are collected in a test tube. In the test tube, the fertilization takes place. Zygote is produced. That zygote is then injected into the mother's uterus. जैसे हमने implantation करके देखा, जो fallopian tube से होते हुए uterus में आकर then it implants. Here what we do, we implant the zygote into the uterus. Then it is followed by normal pregnancy. That is called IVF. So why it is called test tube baby? Because the baby's life begins in a test tube, in a zygote. So this is also one of the options. In a petri dish or somewhere, the fertilization takes place. Okay, the female gamete and the male gametes are collected separately. Fertilization is taking place, and then with the help of this instrument called cannula, the embryo or the zygote is injected inside and transferred to the uterus. So implantation अगर proper हो गया, embryo development is just like a normal pregnancy. उसको बोलते हैं IVF. So it's like the male and the female does not need to engage in sexual activity, but without that also the conception can be possible. Okay. Then this is called surrogacy. surrogacy means what? सुना कभी surrogate mother? It's like there will be a couple, they want to have child, but due to some reason the female is not able to get pregnant. So for that couple, some other woman can get pregnant, but the child will belong to them. ऐसे मदर को बोलते हैं सरोगेट मदर. तो the gametes can be from them. यहाँ पे टेस्ट ट्यूब में किया फर्टिलाइजेशन, वहां पे इस मदर के अंदर ट्रांसफर करते हैं. So the entire period of pregnancy and all is born by one other woman, but the child which will be born will be given to them. ये सब legally करते हैं. There are papers which are signed. The woman also knows that ultimately pregnancy कर रहे हैं तो बच्चा किसी और का ही है, and they form a proper relation between them, and it is the duty of the couple to take care of this surrogate woman in every way, financially also. अगर सब कुछ legally करेंगे तो ये सही टेक्निक. It's like giving the uterus on rent. That's surrogacy. Okay. And ये है something called sperm bank. जैसे तुम लोगों ने blood bank सुना होगा, where blood is given and they are stored, so it is useful for various people during emergencies. Blood group के हिसाब से distribute किया जाता है. Similar way, there is something called sperm bank also. The semen with the sperms can be collected and they can also be stored under low temperature. ये जो है जिसको cryopreservation बोलते हैं. Under very low temperature, they are stored, they are preserved, they remain viable. So later on, at any point of time, if the sperms are needed, it can be given. या तो उससे IVF कर सकते हैं, artificial insemination हो सकता है, surrogacy भी हो सकता है. So either the same couple can get their own child using the sperms, or some other couple can be helped with this. That's called sperm bank. That is also a very upcoming concept. So of course, anybody who goes and donates the sperms, पहले health वगैरह checkup करेंगे, जैसे blood के time पे करते हैं, right? Proper health checkup is done. Only then the person will be allowed to donate, and then accordingly they are preserved. And जरूरत पड़ने पर confidential information भी रखा जाता है. Okay, that's again a new concept coming up. Okay, understood that points, everyone? Okay, since we are talking about reproduction, which is the only process by which new human beings can be created, so reproduction leads to something called population. Correct? If more and more people will reproduce, the population will increase, and that's why we use the word population explosion. As from this graph you can see, Indian population का कितना explosion हो गया, or world population also if you see, especially from the 1950s onwards. See how the population has increased. India में देखना कितना है, it was 1.6 billion. It is predicted कि उस time 2050 तक वहां पहुंचे. The first most populous country was China. Very recently, Indians have broken the record. And now the first most populated country in the world is India. So why should we study about, or we should have an idea about the population? There are various reasons why the population explodes. Okay, what are the various reasons? Firstly, there is a rise in the standard of living. Like people can have a comfortable life, providing every luxury. So they think about planning more than 1 or 2 babies. Population rises. Secondly, better medical facilities are available now as compared to the olden times. If you see your grandparents' generation 50 years back or something, itne medical facilities nahi the. But now they are available. So because of better medical facility, the chances that the baby or the mother dies during pregnancy is less. So their survival rate increases, population increases. But then there is illiteracy. In the need for a girl child or something, there is more number of children produced. They are not able to be given proper education. So illiteracy रह जाता है, lack of awareness हो जाता है. So it's like a vicious cycle. Illiteracy के वजह से unemployment, unemployment के वजह से more population. Okay, and then in the earlier days, you know very well, early marriage was the scene. बहुत young age में marriage करा देते थे. correct? So early marriage and late marriage, both are dangerous. Biologically also we have seen that, right? Like especially in the one or two generations back, if you see, this woman when used to get married early, not women, very young girls in fact. So at a very younger age they used to get pregnant. तो उस वजह से क्या होता था, पॉपुलेशन बढ़ता था, एंड रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ वाज नॉट टेकन केयर ऑफ. डिजायर फॉर अ मेल चाइल्ड, कि मेल चाहिए बोल के 7 लड़कियां पैदा हो गई, उनको ध्यान नहीं रखा जाता. Nowadays also there are these cases are rising there in the villages, right? The population is rising, so 7-8 girls are there, after which there is a boy child, so boy gets everything, girls don't get anything. This mentality is also existing, right? So that is a problem. And migration for better facilities, okay, especially from the villages people migrate to the cities, तो better facilities के वजह से वो population बढ़ जाता है. So like this there are many reasons due to which population just rises, but now this awareness is there. There are demographers who are giving your proper statistics कि population बढ़ेंगे तो क्या problems होगा, people are becoming scientifically aware, so all that must reduce. Okay, so population status क्या है इंडिया का? Okay, see, population India का ज़्यादा है, but in different parts of India they are not the same. There are some places which are highly populated, there are some places which are very less populated. So let us take a look at some facts. The state with the maximum population in India is Uttar Pradesh. Okay, the state with the least population is Sikkim. You can imagine the reasons, right? Sikkim एक ऐसा state है जहाँ accessibility कम है. Only few places in Sikkim are highly populated. बाकी बहुत ऐसा inaccessible regions है. Similarly, the state with the maximum population density, it is West Bengal. Per square kilometer there are many people. उसको density. Similarly, the state with the least population density is Arunachal Pradesh. It's a big state but highly spaced out. That is Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, state with the highest sex ratio. What is the meaning of sex ratio now? Total number of females per 1,000 males. उसको sex ratio बोलते हैं. So the only state in India where the sex ratio is in the favor of the females, that is Kerala. Okay, otherwise states like Haryana and all, they have very less sex ratio because of these reasons. Okay, so you can see the lowest sex ratio is found in Haryana, somewhere around 830 females per 1,000 males. That's when many villages of Haryana and all, when the boys reach that age, where marriageable age, they don't get any girls to marry because उतना ratio ही नहीं है ना boys and girls का. That is the problem. Okay, female infanticide वगैरह बहुत होते हैं वहाँ पे, many places actually. Okay, state with the highest literacy rate, population में literacy भी उतना ही जरूरी है, that is Kerala, the first literate state in India, and second literate is Mizoram, nicely literate state. Okay, and the state with the lowest literacy rate is in Andhra Pradesh. So there are a lot of criteria which changes, and every 10 years there is a population census carried out, you know that. Okay, तो उससे पूरा information पता चलता है, and that's the reason population census is a must. Okay, तो उसमें पूरा population का clear data मिलता है. It's not just about the number of people, it's also about the quality of the people, age factor, right? The health condition, the education, the profession, everything. All that also is understood. Okay, so once you know, like population can be a problem, it can have an impact. So there are different scientific measures which are available by which the birth control can be done. Like sexual activity can continue, but population control can be carried out. That's called birth control measures. Okay, so there are some non-clinical measures and there are some which are clinical measures. See this. Non-clinical methods of birth control, where doctors need not be consulted, one can directly decide between themselves. तो उसमें क्या क्या आएगा? Contraceptives बोलते हैं उसको. The first one is called the rhythm method. Rhythm method का मतलब है कि like simply being scientifically aware about the menstrual cycle and its phases. So as per the menstrual cycle, the people are aware that there is some or one or two phases where the pregnancy is almost next to impossible because the female gamete is not available. So indulging in sexual intercourse during that phase will lead to very less chances of pregnancy. It's not talked about 100%. It's about reduction in the chances of pregnancy. Sometimes nature can also do miracles. Okay, so that is called as the rhythm method. According to the menstrual cycle, the planning for sexual activity can be carried out. Second one is called, you know very well, very popular one, that's the use of condoms. These are latex or rubber sheets which are available, which can be worn over the penis. So it's like a physical barrier. The sexual activity can continue, but the semen will not enter the vagina. So no conception will happen. But again, there are problems associated with it. It's not 100% safe. It will prevent even sexually transmitted diseases. But sometimes due to erratic use, the condom can tear. And that can lead to pregnancy. Okay, so but one has to use it properly, it can prevent. Then there are spermicidal agents which are available. Like there are creams or foams or this kind of sponges. Okay, spermicidal का मतलब है कि this is applied in the vagina before the sexual activity, so that when the sexual intercourse takes place, the semen with the sperms will enter the vagina. These chemicals will kill the sperms. So when the sperms are killed, they can not fertilize. But again, nature has its own way. You never know, even if one sperm remains healthy and it is able to overcome that, pregnancy can happen. So these methods are not 100% accurate, but there can be possibility of prevention. Then there are cervical caps or barrier method. These are also known as the female condoms. It's like this kind of cups or loops, physical structures are inserted into the cervix, placed over there. So when the semen will fall over here with the sperms, they won't be able to cross this barrier and fertilize. Cervix को पार नहीं कर पाएगा. So this kind of cervical caps are available. Okay, so they prevent the sperms from crossing them. Then there are pills available. These are hormonal pills. Okay, this should be not taken very obviously, like this has to be avoided first of all, because this what you can say manipulates the hormones. So hormonal manipulation के वजह से fertilization will be reduced. Okay, so the required progesterone hormone वगैरह inhibit कर देगा, तो fertilization नहीं होगा. This pills do that job. So at a young age and all, this should be avoided. Okay, and then there are intrauterine contraceptive devices called IUCD. Okay, now here it's like they are inserted inside the uterus. So this is to be done slightly surgically, like directly inside the uterus, the female herself cannot do it. So there are loops like this, जो copper के बने होते हैं. They are inserted into the uterus like this. Okay, so they also prevent fertilization. Sperms को आगे नहीं बढ़ने देते. So it has got its own lifespan and all. The doctors will tell the details. ये सब हो गए non-clinical methods. Similarly, there are clinical methods which are available. Okay, which can prevent conception. So they are also called surgical methods. So there is one surgical method for males and one surgical method for the females. Okay, males के लिए कौन सा है? There is something called vasectomy which is carried out. It's a surgery. अब जो clinical और surgical methods है, they are permanent methods. Okay, this is done permanently. It cannot be reverted back, but this ensures 100% no chance of pregnancy. So males में क्या किया जाता है? Vasectomy. Okay, so you have studied the male reproductive system. This vas deferens. This is the tube which connects the testis with the abdominal region, the ejaculatory duct. So surgically, the vas deferens is cut and stuck separately like this. So क्या होगा? Testes will produce the sperms, but the sperms will not travel beyond this. But there will be secretion from the ejaculatory duct. The penis erection will be normal. Sex life will be normal, but there won't be any sperm at all. There is no way the sperm can cross this. That's why it's a permanent method for the males. That's called vasectomy. Understood this vasectomy? Everyone? Okay. Similarly, there is this method called tubectomy, which is for females. So here what is done? The fallopian tube, just a vast difference in the males were cut and sutured. Same way in the females, the fallopian tubes are cut and separated. So fallopian tube is the site of fertilization. So वहां अगर जुड़ेंगे ही नहीं, so there won't be any ovum which will come in the fallopian tube, or there won't be any sperm coming and meeting the ovum. No fertilization. So that is also a permanent method for the female, but ये permanent method. So before the male and the female take the decision, they have to think carefully. ये करना है कि नहीं. So especially males and females in the later age of life, where they already had children, now they are sure that they don't want any more children. Okay, so they undergo this kind of surgery. No side effect, nothing at all, and just a one-time surgery. That's why they are called clinical or surgical methods. Understood these two properly, everyone?
Yes.
Tubectomy and vasectomy, no doubt about it.
Yes.
Okay, so we have discussed the different concerns associated with the reproductive system in human beings. Okay, firstly, we have spoken about the different types of sexually transmitted diseases. Okay, followed by the artificial reproductive techniques. Okay, the population aspects of India and the world. Why the population rises? Okay, what can be the impacts of it? Right? Then we have seen if the population rises so much, we can also control the population by various birth control measures or the contraceptive methods. Some of them non-clinical, two of them clinical or the surgical. Okay, so all these points we have discussed. Human reproduction and its associated concepts are over. Any doubts up to here? Sure, everyone? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this lesson finally, life process 2 comes to an end. हम लोग ने अमीबा जैसे ऑर्गेनिज्म के रिप्रोडक्शन से स्टार्ट किया था. We ended with human beings. Any doubts? Okay. Okay.